We have Pablo Adreani again to bring all the updates regarding the Argentinian crop, corn and soybeans, right here on Connected Farmer, your channel to keep you up to date with the latest trends in agriculture and livestock. So we have Pablo, for those who don't know him, he is an Argentinian analyst. He's been in the market for several years, and he's going to tell everything about the current status of the Argentinian crop and the Argentinian markets. So let's start by the game changer. Recently, the Argentinian government has reduced taxes, the export taxes for soybeans and other grain. But let's focus on soybeans. What does that change in the market more than a game changer was a necessity for the Argentinian farmers, I guess?
Luis, thank you very much for inviting me to this very important podcast. I just would like to say good morning, good afternoon, or good night to everybody that are here at this podcast during the week, mainly for the U.S. farmers, which I think that this information is very useful for his business. To know what's the policy that the Argentina government has changed recently on regards to the export taxes of soybeans and corn. As you have said, the Argentine government announces this week the reduction in export taxes known as withholdings. We call it in Spanish withholdings, but it's an export tax. In soybeans, the government reduced the tax from 33 to 26%. I think that the U.S. farmer has to see the magnitude of the export taxes. 33% of the crop goes to the government hands. This is about $140 per metric ton. In such way, the Argentine farmers could compete against the U.S. farmers, the Brazilian farmers, Paraguay farmers, but they cannot increase the area because it was unprofitable business in some areas of the country. In the case of the soybean meal and the soybean oil, the reduction came from 31 to 24.5%. With this decrease, the government manages to improve the prices of soybeans received by farmers. The improvement in a theoretical Excel in the case of soybeans was about $20 per metric ton, equivalent to 54 cents per bushel. In the case of the corn and in the case of the wheat, the reduction was from 12 to 9.5%. Yes? And in the case of the price equivalent of this reduction, in the case of wheat, the wheat farmers in Argentina can receive $6 more, about 16 cents per bushel. And in the case of corn, the Argentine farmers will receive for his crop $5 more. This is about 13 bushels per ton.
Okay. And other than that, we have a big issue in the market is also the dryness in Argentina. Several areas of soybeans are affected, and mostly corn because corn is more sensitive to dryness. And one of the areas that is very affected is the Santa Fe province. So how do you see that developing? How big do you think the reductions will be in terms of the crop size?
You are right, Luis. You know that the U.S. farmers will understand very well what I will say to them. We had in Argentina from the beginning of December till January 12, 20, a large region of our country and some southern state of Brazil that received no rains, with high temperatures just in the middle of the summer season. Compared with the US, this is about from mid-June till the end of July, when the summer crops are in the flowering and maturing stage. The first grade of soybeans, the first crop, which is planted earlier in the season, lost the first flowering stage. About 30% of these soybeans was eliminate the flowering due to the heat damage, which is the excessive high temperatures without rains. So first, 1/3 of the first crop was affected. In Argentina, we have estimated about that 20% of the harvest is about 10 million tons of a total crop estimates of 50 million tons was already affected and reduced. In the case of Brazil, the state of Rio Grande do Sul, which is the second largest soybeans producing state in Brazil, with 25 million tons of production, behind the state of Mato Grosso, with almost 40 to 45 million tons of soybeans, the first soybean producer state of Brazil. Losses in the Rio Grande state are estimated in 7.5 million tons, equivalent to 30% of the total production of Rio Grande do Sul. The situation is that while it is dry in the southern state of Brazil, in the central state of Mato Grosso, there is excessive rain that is delaying the soybeans harvest. You know that the soybean harvest in the Mato Grosso is during January. We are close at the end of January, and the soybeans harvest is delayed more than 70%, with losses in yield and quality of the grains. This delay in the soybeans harvest produced a delay in the planting of the second corn crop, usually called as safrinha. So the damage of the excessive rains for the beans are also a damage in the delay of the planting season of the safrinha corn. The impact in the market, the drought in Brazil, in Argentina, and the excessive rains in the state of Mato Grosso were the main reasons for the increase in corn and soybeans prices in Chicago this week.
Yeah, so how do you see that developing in terms of trade? Do you see an increased appetite from the Chinese for the soybeans from Argentina and Brazil?
I have a sort of black swan for you about China. China, the world's largest buyer of soybeans, hear of that, stopped receiving shipments of the Brazilian grain from 5 companies after the shipments did not meet phytosanitary requirements. This was said by sources like Reuters. Brazil, the world's largest exporter of soybeans, has been suspended the shipment to China due to the China actions against this shipment. On January, I have the name of the Brazilian company, that this is not important for this report. On January 14, Chinese customs suspended shipments from Cargill and ADM. This is important for U.S. farmers. And there was concern after some shipments were found with chemical contamination, pests, or insects. This is what said by the source. Between you and me, Luis, and this is like we are talking in a coffee table, in a bar. This is not the first that China did it. It is normal that China, but this was not happen many years ago. when China knows that there is an oversupply of soybeans in the world, like in the case of Brazil, uses false arguments or lies to cause the prices of previously closed business drop. What China is doing is the same that did 15 years ago with what do you say, the most important default in the grain history, when China canceled the contracts of beans of all the countries that by that time exported to China were affected by this decision. China rejected the price of the contract that they closed 2 months ago. This happened 15 years ago. And I guess that this practice of this year recalled to me to that bad times for the world trade.
So, who do you think is going to benefit short term, Argentina or the USA?
I believe that both Argentina has the problem with the drought, and nobody knows which will be the final crop. US has closed his harvest 4 months ago. So I believe that US farmers will not take advantage of this decision. And I think that we have to wait how will be the next crop 25, 26 in the US in order to see what will be the planting intentions of beans and corn. I think that there is nobody take advantage of this situation. I think that the most country that suffered this situation is Brazil, because it is probably that China would like to renegotiate the prices of the contract that was done 2 months ago, with the argument that they found out some pests, chemical contamination, or insect, which, from my point of view, with actual technology in the world about the harvest, condition of the beans, condition in the port, I don't believe that there is any problem with these beans that was exported by Cargill or ADM. They are big players. They have high quality controls of the beans when received in the country elevator or in the port elevator. I think that this is an excuse of China to sit down in a table with Cargill and ADM and tell them, okay, I will receive your beans, which is onboarding in the vessels going to China in the middle of the ocean. Okay, I will receive the beans, but we have to lower the price. Something like that.
Yes, and considering that scenario, do you think would be wise for anyone holding corn or soybeans to sell it?
I believe that I am bullish market, Luis, to be clear. I have analyzed the market in the last 30 years, but let's say in the last 2 years. And the soybeans prices has dropped close to $150 per ton till mid-December or earlier of December 2024. From this date to now, soybeans prices went up in Chicago, I mean. So it is probably that China has bought soybeans in the top of the prices, and they would like to renegotiate the price. But in a midterm scenario, I believe that the Argentine farmers will sell the crop that they need to pay the debts or the transportation costs of the harvest cost, and then the Argentine farmer will sit over the beans. The Brazilian farmers will do the same. They will sell just the minimum to cover the expenses of the crop, transportation, or whatever. and then they will sit on the beans. So I think that we have 2 months, February and March, where the weather in Argentina and Brazil will define both crops, beans and corn.
All right. Anything else would you like to add?
Just to tell the US farmers and on the company that are follow you, Luis, I hope to have the next podcast by mid-February or when any big news affected in the market.
Yeah, so we invite everyone to subscribe and stay tuned to see Pablo again here. Thank you, Pablo.
Thank you, Luis.